Hey everyone, it's Adam Helfand. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the questions and the topics you need to discuss at the first meeting with your contractor when you're ready to do the big project. So in the conversation, the contractor is going to be there. It's almost like an audition. He's going to be there to talk about how great they are and things like that. This is the important time for you to ask a lot of questions. And there are no questions that are too far right, too far left. There's no crazy questions. Remember, it's your money that you're spending. And if it's a big project, and to me, a big project is any kind of project that's over a couple grand. Bathrooms, 15, 20,000. Room additions, over 100,000. The average roof today is almost 20,000. This is a lot of hard-earned money. You have every right to ask any kind of question that you deem necessary. Remember, it's the golden rule. He who has the gold rules. Your checkbook, your money, you're in charge. So let's talk about the first type of questions you should be asking. When you talk to a contractor, he's in your house, you want to talk about the guarantee of the work. How are they guaranteeing it? Is there a warranty? Is there a difference between the guarantee and warranty? Now, a good contractor will tell you the difference. But for this conversation, you want to know how they guarantee it. So you just say to him, Mr. Contractor, in my room addition, in my roof, or in my bathroom, do you guarantee your work? I promise you, 100%, 100 out of 100 contractors are going to say, yeah, they guarantee the work. But for you, you need to say to them, do you guarantee your work? And they're going to say yes. And then after that, you say, can you please expound on that, clarify it, tell me what that means, and let him tell you. And then say, hey, I'm sure you guys have had instances in the past where you've had to guarantee the work or you've had to come back and warranty something. Can you give me an example of how that's handled? And then let him tell you, because there's a process. And if he doesn't know, he goes, well, I don't know. We never have problems. You can be like, okay, well, seems a little unlikely. I used to do projects for years. In fact, I've been doing this for over 35 years. And I got to tell you, even my best projects had headaches. The best contractor shows up on a job and sometimes he screws it up. But again, the solution is how they handle it. The observation is if they're solution minded. You want to make sure that contractor can identify the problem and solve it, not place blame, pointing it this way or that way and going all over the board. So when you talk about the warranty or the guarantee, that is the entree into that conversation on how they handle problems. Again, the first meeting is like an audition. It's like you want to see if this is a contractor you can work with. Because remember, when you have a relationship with your contractor, it may be short-term, it may be long-term. But it's also important that you're paying and your money should be spent on the project, not on redoing things and getting extras and being nickel and dimed. It becomes terrible when that happens. So as you progress and you ask the warranty and the guarantee questions, they're going to give you an idea of how they handle that. That shows you as a homeowner if this is a problem-solving contract. That's number one. Now, what are the other questions or other topics you talk about during the first meeting? Well, one good question that you can always talk about is on the timeline. You can say, hey, if we agree to go forward, what does your start date look like? A good contractor will always have his finger on the pulse of their own schedule. He may say, well, Mrs. Jones, to do your roof, we're 3 months away. 3 months? That's crazy. Or he may say, you know what? I can start the job in under 10 days. That's a contractor who is giving you some flexibility. Under 10 days. It's not like we can start right away next week, tomorrow. Give me the check and we'll get started. You don't want that. There's proper planning in a contracting environment. So you need to make sure that it's properly planned. So that goes with the start date or timelines. If you have a project like a kitchen, which takes 12 weeks on average sometimes, you need to say to the contractor, hey, what's the timeline or how do you want to start if we do this kitchen? There are ways and benchmarks in a kitchen that you need to know so that the contractor works with you. Because the contractor is going to say, listen, Mrs. Jones, we are not starting this job until your cabinets arrive. Okay, that's a great statement. Well, how long does it take to get the cabinets? Well, if you were to sign with the contractor that night and he ordered them the next day, cabinets typically take 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks just to get. And we're talking about a decent quality cabinet. Now, you could go to a big box store and find cabinets that are, how should we say, pre-made on the shelf in stock. Your choices are very limited, but sometimes you could do that. But for most part, cabinets need to be ordered, and that's a lengthy time. The contractor in your meeting for the first time, remember, you're at the first meeting, he should know. Contractors tend to want to say, oh, we'll get those right away. Those are answers that are trying to show you that he has everything handled. In the first meeting, you don't want that. You want to make sure that he's going to be legitimately answering you questions with a solid answer. Not like, oh yeah, they're in stock, don't worry. It's, we have to order them. We have to inspect them. We have to do a lot of pre-work before we even get the cabinets. Those are the answers you're looking for. Not the quick yes or no. A lot of contractors will say yes to everything. Do you do good work? Yeah. Do you guarantee your work? Yeah. Do you have satisfied homeowners? Yeah. Well, how do you get a no out of a contractor? Will you do the work for free? He'll say no. I'm sure of it. So now that you've discussed with your contractor the timeline, start days, and you're feeling comfortable, you can start talking money. It's not a risk, but this is where it gets very serious because it's your money. Don't forget that. Now, remember, the first meeting with a contractor, I always tell homeowners, tell the contractor, we'd like to have you over. We only have about an hour to an hour and a half to discuss everything. Make a limit. Limit your time. Now, you can have 4 or 5 hours, but let him know going in that you only have an hour, hour and a half. And when you talk about payments, you need to have this discussion and say, listen, we just don't have money laying around. We don't have a tree in the backyard that has money growing on. This is our hard-earned money. We're going to either get an equity line of credit, we're going to borrow the money, we're going to use our savings. It's not just sitting around. So this is hard-earned money, Mr. Contractor. So let's talk payments. What type of deposit do you require? You want to know. Because what I always recommend for homeowners is a deposit should be 10%. If you have a $50,000 kitchen, you need to write a check for 10% of that. It's $5,000. That's a lot of money, $5,000. But it's also enough for the contractor to know that you're serious. That's the deposit. But if it's a kitchen, the very next payment will be soon because that's when the contractor is going to have to order cabinets. And when a contractor orders cabinets, that's a big check. Usually it's the cost of the cabinets. And you can say to the contractor, and in previous podcasts, we've told homeowners, make sure that you pay the cabinet payment price, and he shows you that the cabinets are paid, an order acknowledgement, because you want those checks to go towards paying for a lot of material. Contractors have overhead, they have general conditions, they have setup, there's fees and costs that you don't visibly see on a job. So he's entitled to that money. But if the cabinets are $20,000, $30,000, or $15,000 or whatever it is, that next check should be applied towards cabinet. And the reason why I say that is because if somehow the contractor ends up disappearing, at least you can show that you paid for the cabinet. That's important. But payments are very, very crucial to the success of a home improvement project. Now, part of the payment process is when you pay on completion of. So at a contract where you're talking payments, and this could be in the first meeting, Mr. Contractor, how do you take a deposit and how much? 10% of the sales price. Okay, $50,000 kitchen, 10% is $5,000. Here's your deposit. Tell me what the next payments are. Well, the next payment will be upon ordering cabinet. Okay, how much is that? Well, we're still finalizing everything, but in the example here, let's just say it's $25,000. Okay, so my second payment is upon $25,000 of ordering cabinet. So right now in your head, Mr. Homeowner, you've paid $25,000 for the cabinets and $5,000 for the deposit. You're already $30,000 in to a $50,000 kitchen that hasn't even started yet. Don't think you've paid too much. Remember, there's processes and progress as things go. But the remainder should be upon completion of items, completion of demo, completion upon rough plumbing, rough electrical, rough heating, completion upon installation of drywall. The next payment could be completion of installation of cabinets when countertops are done. These are the way payment schedules should be done. For the homeowner, it's completion of. That way you're paying after a task is done. Now, when does that change? Sometimes when it's paying for materials or at the end because the job is completed or is it not completed? The job could be 100% done in the contractor's opinion, but in your opinion, it's not. What are those differences? Let's say you're missing cabinet knobs, but the sink works, the oven works, countertops are in, everything works, but you got some knobs. Or maybe there's a cracked drawer front. and you're waiting from the manufacturer, but you're using the kitchen. So for me, as a fair meeting of the minds to meet halfway with a homeowner and a contractor, here is advanced advice for you, the homeowner. You can pay the contractor upon usable completion. The last payment on a job should be usable completion. What does that mean? If you can use the kitchen, but you're still waiting on a few items, you can pay them. You may want to hold back a few $100s, but not necessary, because by that time, the contractor is either earned your respect or you hate him. But you still got to pay him usable completion. You shouldn't be holding all that money, because at the end, it's pretty much his profit. But should hold enough. So if you have to call the manufacturer and say, I need a drawer front, or I need the knobs, or something put in like that, you'll have a little bit enough left over to help pay for that. Payments are the most important part of a project. Now remember, let's talk about the contractor in that instance. The contractor is not the bank. When you hire the contractor, he's getting paid by your money. He's not borrowing from the bank to fund your project. You didn't tell him that. The contractor's not the bank. You are the bank. He's not financing it. So he's got entitlement, or he's entitled to get that money when due. So it's a contract. And that's why you have to hold up your end of the bargain as well. So remember that when it comes to payment. Now, how does that all get off track? Well, remember, we're still in the first meeting. Another important topic to talk about with the contractor is change order. Mr. Contractor, do you have a change order policy? See what he says. When I was a contractor, we had it in our contract, a change order policy. Why did we do that? Because change orders interrupt the rhythm of the job. Remember that. Let me say it again. Change orders interrupt the rhythm of the job. And what does that mean? If a contractor tells you this is a 12-week job, and then 3-4 weeks in, when they're ripping out a wall and there's mold, termites, rotted something, they have to stop. And a good contractor is going to stop the job and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we found a problem. But a great contractor is going to say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we found a problem, but we have a solution. That's the difference between good and great, the one that offers the solution. Now, once the job stops, it says, hey, we found this problem. We have to stop the job. We're going to solve it. We found rotted wood. I've already figured out what it's going to cost to frame around it. I can't, Mrs. Homeowner, I can't put back the walls without changing the rotted wood. It wouldn't be right. Can't cover that up. So the contractor consciously is telling you what he's going to do. So we're going to fix the wall. We're going to frame it. And here's what it costs to do that. That's called a change order, typically in a latent defect. That's going to take us an extra week to get everything done. Well, that 12-week job is now 13 weeks. You need to understand that. And in your first meeting with the contractor, this is why you ask about change order. Now, what other kind of change orders are there? Well, that's the unforeseen change order. But what about when you, the homeowner, are watching HGTV and you see this really cool pizza oven that goes in your cabinet, right? Mr. Contractor, I want to put that pizza oven in. He's like, no problem. Let me figure it out. He comes back to you and says, listen, for the pizza oven, we got to run a gas line. We also have to run electrical. And I have to put ventilation in above the cabinet. Those 3 items are going to extend the job 3 weeks. That's a change order. There's a cost to that. So you've requested a change. The contractor's accommodating you, but everyone needs to agree that there's an extension in the timeline, because everybody wants to know why the jobs take forever. Well, when you request a change, also understand that the time of the job is extending. Simple, but it goes both ways. That's why we have to be fair. And when you ask this in the beginning with a contractor, guess what? The contractor, if he's sharp, is going to think about you as a homeowner saying, you know what? This homeowner's asking good questions. And I personally love a homeowner who asks good questions. Inquisitive questions, inquisitive homeowners are a sign of a great homeowner. And that's the truth. So change orders are very crucial. So after you've asked all these questions, the contractor's also judging you, because remember, not only is it an audition for the contractor for you, the homeowner, and remember, you're the boss. As the homeowner, you have the goal. You've got the checkbook, so you're in charge. But also, the contractor is developing a profile of you. And he is also thinking, this homeowner is asking great questions. I believe a sharp contractor is going to like the fact that you ask these questions. Now, let's get to negotiation. Negotiating is Sometimes easy, sometimes it's uneasy, sometimes it doesn't feel right, but it's part of all business deals. So the negotiation are where you have the proposal. And remember, we talked about a beginning, a middle, and end, and that whole story about a proposal. You've got the proposal, there's a beginning, a middle, and end. And I always tell homeowners to give the proposal back to the contractor and say to the contractor, Mr. Contractor, per Adam Helfman, he says the proposal should also include everything not included. And the reason why I tell homeowners to not ask that till after you get the proposal is because it makes your contractor think about, oh, what's not included? Because it has him review everything. And now he's going to think for things that aren't included. And it's important because sometimes homeowners don't realize that there are items that you just don't know. I've had a contractor and a homeowner get in a fight over demolition and cleanup, final cleanup. The homeowner didn't realize that the contractor took all the debris from the bathroom, put it at the end of the street. And he said, oh, well, that's at the garbage. Let the garbage company take it away. Well, the garbage company's like, we're going to charge you for that. What you need to do is clean up and haul away. Keyword, haul away. So the contractor needs to clean up and haul away all debris. If he just says clean up at the end of the job, that's interpreted by who knows, right? So clean up and haul away means we're hauling it away. If you give it back to him and he says, oh yeah, I need a dumpster or I need to haul it away, those are items that expose this. But when it comes to negotiations, now that you have the price, now that you have everything, you can review it with him and it's okay. You can say to the contractor, and here's how you ask or how you negotiate. Mr. Contractor, I like everything here. I like you. I like your references. I think I want to go forward with you. However, your price, you're at $55,000 for this bathroom or for the kitchen or whatever it is. Here's how you ask. $55,000 is a little outside my budget. Can you do better? That's right. That's all you got to ask. Can you do better? And at that moment, when you ask that question, you have to zip your mouth. And the reason why I say that is because now he's going to have to respond. Let him respond. I know you're going to want to say, well, whatever you want to say, zip it, zip. Because let him say, well, yeah, I'll tell you what, Mrs. Homeowner, I'm glad you asked. And then the contractor can answer in a few ways. Let me give you a few ways he's going to answer. Well, Mrs. Homeowner, $55,000 is a fair price, I believe. And that's my price. If you want a better price, which you're asking for, we can remove things from the job. Whoa. I want everything you propose. I just don't want to pay 55. That's where it becomes a situation where you got to walk that fine line. Contractor can say, I'll tell you what, if you want me to do better, tell me, where are you comfortable? Now the pressure's on you, the homeowner. What are you going to do? Well, you should have a number in your head. You know what? I was wanting to do this job based on what you proposed. I'm comfortable at $49,000. So now you said 49. He's at 55. Let's see what he says. Is he going to say, I'll meet you halfway? Is he going to say, well, if you sign right now, I'll give you 49. Or is he going to say, you know, Mrs. Jones, as much as I want to give you a better deal, I have overhead. I have profit. I have many things here that I need to get done. So when negotiating with your contractor, it gets uneasy, but it's also, again, another way to see how your contractor handles the negotiations. It's okay for him to say no. And it's okay for you to say, hey, Mr. Contractor, I want to use you, but the price is out of my range. Now, there are times when he can say, listen, if you supply the faucets or if you do the demo or if I remove paint and you paint it yourself, there are ways where you can work with the contractor to lower the price where it's a win-win. And again, the end goal is your satisfaction and making you happy, period. That's what it comes down to. The contractor wants to satisfy you, but he's in business for a profit. He's in business to pay for his bills and live his life. So it's got to be a mutually agreeable condition. Keyword, mutually agreeable, both of you. But at the end of the day, you're paying. And when it's your hard-earned money, you have the final say. Don't forget, if you like what you're watching, comment below, hit the like button, and also subscribe. Thanks for viewing.
What you got?